So glad you guys are here today as we are continuing our series, You in 5 Years. I want to know this morning, really quick, before we go into anything, who are my, how should I put this in a very nice term? I don't know if this is, who are my hoarders in here? Who holds on to stuff way too long? Anybody else besides me? All right, listen, I am the junk man in my house, all right? I'm the trash man. I take your trash out. Anyways, that's who I am, all right? I have a bit of a problem. Here's what's great about being able to speak to you guys every few weeks. I don't have to go to therapy because I can just come talk to you guys and air out all of my issues. And then you guys either like, yes, I'm messed up too. Or you're going, no, Aaron, that's weird. No one else does that, all right? So I really like these times because I get to air out all these weird things of mine and see if anybody else. And usually no one like if I say I do something weird, no one in here is ever like, yes, I'm weird too. It's afterwards they're like, dude, I'm a weirdo too, man. That's me too, right? They tell me later on, like in secret, right? But I want to know, does anybody else do this? First off, here's what I do know about every single one of you. You have, and it may not be exactly this, but everyone has what we call a junk drawer, right? Or if you don't have a drawer that you put in, you have a basket or a box or a cabinet or some. Tell me the truth, how many of y'all have a junk drawer in your life, right? That's where everything goes, right? If you don't know where to put it, it goes in there. If it's small enough to fit in there, it goes in there. My wife is famous for, if there's anything on the kitchen counter that is not a cooking utensil or a pot or pan or whatever that doesn't need to be there, boom, goes in there, right? And like 2 weeks later, when I finally need that thing, like that weird screw that I always kept saying I was going to put where it belongs or whatever the case may be, I'm going, honey, what did you do with it? Junk drawer. Go look in the junk drawer. That's the first place we look for absolute. Where are my headphones? Junk drawer. Check out for that, right? Okay. Now, here's where things get really weird, and this is a little bit niche, all right? So I need to know anybody else that's in this with me. Does anybody else save boxes? And I'm not talking like Amazon boxes you got from all that. No, I'm talking like special boxes. You know what I'm talking about? Like you bought something really expensive and it came in a really nice box. And you're like, well, we can't just look at this box, it's so nice. So you put it away like you're gonna use it for something down the road or something. Guys, we have an entire cabinet in our house dedicated for my boxes, all right? And I love it. I put a couple things in there one time just to like put it away, and then it just accrued over a certain amount of time, and then that's where they all go now. Okay, so I wanted to do this for you. So they kind of got this, there is like a trend right now. You guys seen it where it's like, this is 2016, right? I'm gonna take you back to like 5 years later, or earlier, like 2011, all right? I decided to go into the archives, okay? And get into my cabinet of boxes, of all my special boxes. And I brought a very nice little thing for you guys today. You guys, this is an iPhone 4S box, okay? Yeah, I could have found probably an earlier one if I kept digging, right? But this is what I came up with. I want you guys to see this because I'm not making this up. I don't want to show you exactly, but like right here, this is still like the Post-it note when I went and got it at AT&T where it like had my cell phone number on it. Still on it. Post-it note is still attached. Plastic, still on it. I like cut this part out and left the plastic on, all right? As upon further examination, all right, you open it up and I still have, guys, it still has all the accessories in it. Never been touched, still has the plastic. That's like the big fat charger, you remember, like the 30 pin you had to put in your phone. The headphones, don't even use these kinds of headphones anymore, right? It has everything, has the block and everything. Dude, I didn't even realize it had all that. I thought it was just the empty box, but I still had all the stuff in it, right? And you're like, every one of you right now are going, you are so weird. And I am, guys, all right? So here's what I'm saying. So listen, 2011 was when the iPhone 4S came out. 2011, 15 years ago, right? And I still have this box sitting there. If you wanted to get into the box a little more, or into the cabinet, you'd find way more boxes of different things. Apple Watches, iPods, right? iPad boxes, all right? Like, for some reason, I'm like, that's a nice box and I'm gonna keep it. For what? For what? Absolutely nothing. I'm holding on to them for absolutely nothing. So over Christmas break, I don't know what it was, but my wife was all about it. We went into cleaning mode, clean out mode, I guess I should say. We were like, listen, this area is getting junked up, this stuff in our room or this stuff in the kitchen, we got to clean it out. Let's start cleaning. Let's get rid of it. And so we start going through everything. And if you're anything like me, what do you got to do when you clean out? You start making piles, right? This is the pile of what? Garbage. This is the pile of giveaway, and this is the pile of find a home for it. If you want to keep it, but you got to find a home for it, right? We do that with a whole bunch of stuff, right? And I remember, guess what I haven't touched? The box cabinet. And I ain't doing it. You ain't touching my boxes, right? Every one of you right now are sitting here saying, Fields, it's a box, man. It means absolutely. Can I tell you the truth, Fields? It's garbage. This should have gone in the garbage years ago, yet you're still holding on to it. So what I want to talk to you guys just a little bit about today is your garbage and my garbage. What is the garbage that you and I are holding on to? What are the things that you deemed at one point in your life valuable and you decided you were going to hang on to it, you were going to put it away or hold on and hope for something later on, yet here you sit now and you go, I don't think that's worth anything. But you're still holding on to it. You won't let go of it, right? So we've been talking over the last couple weeks about this guy, the Apostle Paul, who was actually in prison as he was writing this letter to this church. And as he was in prison, I'm going to be honest with you guys, he thought like, this is it, game over. Like, I'm going to die in this prison, one way or the other, from just being in the prison, or they're going to execute me. It's not going to end well for my life. So he's reflecting as he's writing this letter, or as he's getting someone to write the letter to them for him, right? And as he's writing this, he's talking about how he's been chained to the guards and understanding what God has done. And he talks about this idea of being under control and knowing that you don't have control in your life and what it means and your priorities and what's the most important things of what's happening in your life. But I want you to know today that as he's talking about control and he's talking about humility, as he's looking at his life, he, in the beginning of this chapter, starts going over his life and his accomplishments, right? And as you read through the beginning of Philippians chapter 3, he starts listing off all of the things that he's done. He's giving his resume, which is a really, really good resume, by the way. When he started out, guys, he was born and raised as a Jewish man. He was born in the culture. He was raised in it. He was raised a Pharisee. He knew the law up and down. He followed the law. He did all of the rules. He did everything absolutely anybody in this culture would want to do. If you looked at his resume, you would say, this guy is top dog. This guy is top notch. He goes through all of these different things that he has done in his life, through the culture, through his upbringing, through just being a good guy in the sight of man. And what does he have to say about all of these accomplishments that he's ever had as he's getting to the end of his life and he knows it's all about over and it's going to be curtains for him? What does he say about all of those things that he's done? Look at what he tells us in verse 7. He said, I once thought that these things were valuable, but now I consider them worthless because of what Christ has done. Yes, everything else is worthless when compared with the infinite value of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord. For his sake, I have discarded everything else, counting it all as garbage, so that I could gain Christ and become one with him. This guy who had all these lists of accomplishments, who had all these things that you could say he had it going on, he decided to say that these things that he used to value is now garbage, trash, worthless. So once again, let me ask you today as we talk through a little bit more on this idea, what is your garbage? Or more specifically, what is your valuable garbage, right? I could sit here and keep showing you this box and showing you how clean it is and how nice. Look, it's in mint condition and I kept it in its plastic and you open it up and the charger still has the plastic around it and look how nice this is, right? And guys, I'm going to tell you something. This is funny because I was talking to somebody about this in between the celebrations, but honestly, like you can, because of weirdos like me, you can go on like eBay and buy boxes, right? So I decided to do a little eBay search, right? And you can probably get like 20 bucks, 24 bucks for this thing, all right? I mean, which y'all are like, not bad for some trash, right? That's how weird people are. That's weird people like me, okay? We'll buy things like that. But regardless of that, here's the thing. You go through all the trouble of doing that just to get 20 bucks. Once again, you all are sitting there going, dude, it's trash. It's garbage. Yet here I am still holding on to it. Paul was talking about all the things that he's done, how prim and proper he lived his life, all the rules that he followed. And he said when it comes down to it, it's garbage. It's worthless. It means nothing. Let me ask you something. What is the garbage, the valuable garbage that you hold on to? Even though this is an uncomfortable question for a lot of us, we have to ask ourselves what those things are. Maybe it's that job title you've worked so hard for, or you've decided that's what's going to give you your meaning in life. And maybe you got that. Maybe you got that 5 years ago. Maybe you got that 10 years ago. And now you're sitting there going, yeah, I might want a different job title, or maybe I want something a little more than that. Maybe I want to move up a little more, or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's a relationship that has defined who you are, whether it's that girl, whether it's that guy, whether it's that group that you hang out with. Those things decide who you are, so when those things change, you're not sure who you are anymore. You've let your emotions, you've let your anxiety, you have let your sleep be the things that get on the back burner because you think that this relationship is the most important thing that you could ever have in your life. I've seen people, guys, I've witnessed it, I've gone through it myself, where you thought if you could just have that person or if you could have that relationship, that everything else will be right, and you suffer because of it. We think that those things are the most valuable thing. Maybe it's your reputation. Maybe it's who you hang out with. Maybe it's the places you go. Maybe it's the things that you do that you value as the most important thing. Maybe for some of you, it's your bank account. You've decided that if you can get to this certain amount of money, that you have made it, that you are getting everything that you have ever dreamed of. And what you find out is a lot of those people who have a lot of money, those people who have a lot of these things, they're about as miserable as the rest of us, right? So what is it? What are those things in our life that we deem valuable, that we decide are the most important thing? But when you really put it out there and you look at it and you look back at your life, you're like, that was just garbage. It was trash. What if today we decided that we were going to trade in that trash, that garbage, those worthless things, for the treasure of knowing Jesus, just as Paul did when he wrote this letter? Understanding how important it is. Because these things aren't bad. Relationships, of course, are not bad. Money is not bad, right? Status, being able to say, I am a part of this, is not bad. But when we make them our identity, that's where we think we get value. So here's the great thing about this. Because I think we all sit there, and if you're like me, you look at that and you go, okay, this is garbage, I'm going to throw it away. Right? And yet for some reason, even after you throw it away, you feel awful. You still feel bad. You still feel like you haven't accomplished. You still feel like you haven't done anything because now you feel like, okay, I've given this up, or I've given this up for God. I've given this up for Jesus, and now I'm going to receive everything that he's promised me because I gave this up. And yet it still doesn't seem to happen. It still doesn't seem to be the thing that fills us up because we're like, I thought if I got rid of this, that somehow I was going to be better off. I thought that things were going to go well for me. I thought I was going to feel better. I thought my anxiety would just disappear. I thought all these things would happen. Yet we find out that that's still not the point, because the point is understanding that the only way that we can find healing is understanding that in Jesus we have the freedom to clean up our garbage. We have the freedom to take out the trash. We have the freedom to know what that looks like. It's the motivation behind what we're doing. Look at what Paul said here in verse 12. As he's writing again about the garbage that weighs us down, he says this, I don't mean to say that I've already achieved these things or that I've already reached perfection. See, he's already telling us right there. Guys, I'm sitting here telling you to get rid of your garbage. He says, I got garbage as well. He says, all these things I thought were important, they're garbage. But guess what? He says, I still, every now and then, I still seek that out. I still seek what's not valuable, but in my mind, it is valuable. I'm sure if every single one of us were being honest today, and if we were open with each other right now, we would know that there are things in our life that right now, for some reason, it's the most important thing. But when you sit it down there and you look at where your life is in 5 years, you know that's not going to be important. I have 3 boys, and all I do is go to a sporting event. That's all I do. That is all I do. Like every day. You at a gym? Yeah. In a couple months, I'll be at a baseball field every single day, right? Why? Because I enjoy it and my kids enjoy it and I enjoy watching them. But you know what the most important thing to me is most days? Sports, right? I'm chasing that. I'm chasing my boy. My boy played good, you know. He did go. Man, they played well tonight, you know. That's what I chase in my life. But 5 years down the road, I don't know if that's going to be the case. When they get out of high school, when they move on and they start their own lives and they have children, what's going to be my priorities then? I think I may look back at some of the ways that I acted. Or some, guys, I'm going to be real with you. Last year, I got kicked out of a basketball game. That takes a lot for me to say that because that was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. It really was. Do I disagree with the referee and think that he shouldn't have kicked me out? Of course I do. I didn't say anything bad to him. But when it happened, I literally was like, oh my goodness, I just got kicked out of a basketball game. I'm walking out like this. Holy cow. Why? Because in that moment, I thought that referee not calling a foul for my kid was the most important thing ever. I look back at it and I'm like, why didn't you just shut up, you idiot? Why didn't you just shut your mouth, right? Because I thought that was the most important thing. Guys, every single one of us are going to make mistakes. Every single one of us are going to do things wrong. But the great thing about Jesus is that you and I have the freedom to work through the garbage. You and I have the freedom to identify what those things are and work on cleaning them, right? He said, I don't mean to say that I've already achieved it or achieved perfection. What did he say, though? He said, I press on to possess the perfection for which Christ Jesus first possessed me. It's not his perfection, it's Jesus' perfection. It's not his goodness, it's God's goodness. It's not his righteousness or holiness, it's God's holiness. Because you and I do not have that. We cannot possess that, only through Jesus. He said, no, dear brothers and sisters, I have not achieved it, but I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. I press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize for which God, through Christ Jesus, is calling us. He says, I'm not perfect and you're not perfect. And because of that, we can work through this. We can figure these things out. I want you to know it's so important for us to remember that today, if I went home and decided this was the day I'm going to clean out my cabinet and I'm going to get out those boxes, do you know what's going to happen? I'm going to have to get up there, get me a chair, because I'm not very tall, right? I'm going to get me a chair. I'm going to pull all those boxes out. And you know what's going to happen? My wife's going to look at me and she's going to say, do you really need that? What are you holding on to that for? You going to do something with it? You got big plans for that? And the whole time I'm going to be going, she's going to be, how long have you had that box? Since 2011. How many times have you gotten it out of that cabinet? Never. Maybe it's time to throw it away, right? Maybe it's time to do something. Maybe there's some weirdo out there that wants it. Just give it away, right? You see, does that mean that she hates me? Does that mean that she wants to get rid of me? Does that mean that she wants to? No. She's looking at me saying, do you really want that? You see, God, when we start trudging through our trash, when we start going through the garbage, and we start looking at things and going, wow, that used to be really important to me. Man, that used to be such a big deal. I think God looks at us and says, is that really what you want? Do you want that? You see, Jesus was the master at this. People would come to him with ailments and with sicknesses and with all these different things happening in their life. And they would say, Jesus, Jesus, please save me. Do something about this. And Jesus would look at him and say, is that what you want? And they would always reply looking back at him like, are you serious? Is that the question you're going to ask right now? Like the blind dude who comes at, what do you want? Blind dude's like, hello? I'm blind, bro. But he's saying, no. What is it that you truly want? What is it that you want when you're cleaning out your garbage, guys? What is it that you're looking for? Because I think for a lot of us, we think that if we clean up our garbage, that everything else is going to go well for us. And then maybe, I don't know, you'll start getting acceptance from other people. Maybe you'll feel better. I don't know what we're looking for, but too many of us are trying to clean out this garbage thinking that it's on us and that it's our responsibility, and that if we don't clean those things out, then we can't be a part of the club, that we can't be a part of this group. But the freedom that we have in Jesus shows us that every single one of us can look at a guy like Paul. Guys, this dude wrote most of the New Testament. And he's going, not me. I ain't the one. Not me. I can't do this. I've messed up. I will never reach perfection. He knew this. He acknowledged this. So how about we all start being honest with each other and know that we don't have this thing together. Know that we do not have all the answers, and we're trying to figure this out. Let's just pause and appreciate the fact that Paul's the one saying this, right? If you take some other idiot in the Bible, you'd be like, okay, I get it. But Paul, the guy who we all look at like he's the father of tradition, and he was the same as us, guys. He was like, there ain't no way. I cannot do this without Jesus. I cannot make this happen. So the guy who wrote half the New Testament is saying he hasn't figured it all out. That's refreshing. Should be refreshing. It is to me. Someone said this to me once, and it made so much sense. They looked right at me, and they said, you do know you're not in trouble, right? I was like, what do you mean? You're not in trouble. Did you make a mistake? Yeah. Did you screw up? Sure did. You're not in trouble, dude. And I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. You see, you are going to make mistakes in this life. You are going to mess up. Sometimes you're going to mess up royally. But when it comes to your relationship with God, when you put your faith, your hope, your trust in Jesus Christ, you're not in trouble. Because when he died on the cross, he said, I'm going to take care of that. It is done. It's not on you anymore, and it's not about you anymore. It's about what I did for you. So, if we do that, then maybe we can get to this point. Maybe we can get to the point where you and I decide that we are going to trade our trash for a treasure together. We all sit in this room today, we watch online today, and we ask ourselves, how can we work through this? You know, it's funny, I said that earlier, people, I'll talk about some of the weird things that I do or just give up some weird thing that just screws me up all the time, and nobody is willing to say, yep, that's me. Weirdos unite, right? But then later they'll be like, dude, yeah, I do that too. How many of us honestly have something that hangs us up all the time, a problem that we have all the time, yet we're not even willing to discuss that or talk with someone about that? Maybe if we all came to the agreement that we're all stuck in this, trying to take our trash and look through our garbage and work on this thing together, then maybe we can move forward. Look at what he said in verse 15. Paul talks about doing this together. He said, let us all who are spiritually mature agree on these things. So he's writing to this church, and he's talking about these people who, listen, you've been trying to figure this out. You're leading people. You have all these followers. Can we all just agree on this when we're talking to other people about our life in Jesus? Can we agree on these things? If you disagree on some point, I believe God will make it plain to you. But we must hold on to the progress we've already made. Paul right here is saying that we all have to come together knowing that none of us are perfect, knowing that none of us have it together, but we can actually move forward. How do we do that? How do we actually progress? How can we do that together? We can do it together. You were never meant to be alone. You were never meant to do this on your own. And so when you're suffering and when you're going through things and when you're trudging through your trash, find someone who will go through the trash with you. Someone who is willing to admit, I have the trash as well. Because we all have some kind of remnant from the trash we've gone through in our own life, the things that we have dealt with in our own life. So what if today we actually took those trash? We recognize those things. You and I have this valuable garbage in our life that we've been holding on to and we're ready to get rid of, but we need somebody. I talked about over break going through all of our stuff. I'm telling you, it was a group project because there were things that I didn't want to get rid of that my wife had to talk me into and saying, no, you don't even want that. You just think you need that, right? My next goal eventually is to go through my bag of cords. Anybody got cords? Yeah, I got lots of cords. Lots of cords that don't need to be in my house anymore, right? But one day, I may need that certain cord. Why do we do that? Why do we do that to ourselves? Because we think that somehow it holds value. But here's the real goal. Here's the whole point of all of this. Paul, just in the middle of all this discussing about the garbage and figuring it out together and trying to reach perfection, knowing that you can't do it, but you can only do it in Jesus. He said this in a few verses earlier. He said that he wants to know Christ and experience the mighty power that raised him from the dead. So he's telling you right now what it is that he truly does want. If everything else fails, if all of his accomplishments fall by the wayside, if all the things that he's trying to chase in his life crumble and he has nothing else, he wants to be able to, at the end of his life, say that he knew Jesus and experienced him raised from the dead. He said, I want to suffer with him, sharing in his death, so one way or another, I will experience the resurrection from the dead. This is the goal. It's not perfection. It's not achievements. It's not being good. It's not following the rules. It's truly knowing Jesus. So let me ask you something this morning. Do you know Christ? Do you know Jesus? Have you had an encounter with him? And I'm not talking about that you raised your hand or you closed your eyes and you said a prayer and you did all that. No, but you truly had that moment where you experienced that resurrection power that anyone can possess when you call upon his name. This is what's great about Jesus, is that I don't care if you've been a Christian for 50 years. I don't care if you felt like you have followed all the rules or if you have never, ever even thought about Christ before. If you've never even thought about your faith. You've never even thought about what comes after this life is over. You've never given that a thought. But he says that you and I can find him because no matter what you've done in your life, you can actually look at it and say, this is not about me. It's not about my goals and dreams and achievements, but it's truly about knowing Jesus. Because when you do that, he looks at you and he looks at me. And every decision that we make and everything that we chase, in that freedom, he says, do you really want those things? Is that the most important thing in your life? With no judgment, with no punishment, because it's been taken care of. So if I can leave you with anything this morning, I want to ask you this. 5 years from now, 2031, right? What are the things in 5 years will you look back and say, these were the things that I chased? Are you still going to identify some garbage and trash? Absolutely. 100% you will. But if we were able to embrace that grace that Jesus has for us every single day, when he looks at us and says, do you want that? Is that really who you are? Is that really what you want to do? Maybe 5 years from now, we're able to say, I knew Jesus, and I experienced the power of his resurrection, and I lived a life looking for him. Not looking back, not worrying about my past mistakes, not worrying about the garbage that I left behind me, but pursuing him, looking to him, and loving him for what he did for us. So let's embrace the process together. Let's find our people. And let's see what that looks like for us. What does that mean for C3 in 5 years? Are we going to look back at some of the stuff that we're doing right now and probably say, probably made some mistakes along the way? Absolutely. But it's when we're pursuing him together. It's when we're able to trade our trash together that we understand that Jesus gave us each other. And he looks to us every single day and lets us know how much he loves us and how much he cares for us. But he leaves that choice up to us. And that's the great thing about him. Would you guys bow your heads with me? No matter where you're at, no matter where you've been, right now in this moment, we all have an opportunity to hit the reset button, to walk out of this building, knowing that Christ can change us, can save us, and we can pursue him with everything that we have. Not because somehow that's going to get us our acceptance, because of the acceptance he's already given us. Maybe you need to experience that resurrection power. Maybe you need to give your life to him. You can do that right now. You can pray to him right there where you're at. You can have that conversation with him. Maybe it's time for you to give up that trash. Maybe it's time for you to throw it away. That way we can move forward together, pressing on, not looking back, but moving forward together. God, I pray for every single one of us as we've had this opportunity to do that today. God, that we would identify our garbage. We would enjoy and trust and believe in the process that you've given us, that we have that freedom in you to do just that. And God, as we join together, taking the trash, looking to our treasure, which is you, and being able to live this life in the freedom that you give us every single day. We love you today. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Guys, thank you again.